So you're from IIT, you're from IIM. So, I think the best of the best in the country.
I was lucky.
So what difference you basically see that is being followed? I mean, whether it's as a cultural difference or is it like, a difference as a package that when you compare with other institutions, you find that IITs and IIMs, they do it differently.
So one, I find intellectual ability would be a little less, and the ability to think outside the box and think beyond, that would be less.
Why? That's
Because one, these top institutes, your friends are also in highly placed positions. So your networks, that's not the intention when you were in school or college, but you end up having amazing networks.
So we teach discipline, we teach science, we teach maths, everything. But when you see the social behavior of the next generation, you feel like one thing that is grossly missing out is the basic etiquette. So how to tackle this one? This is something which is like it's a ticking bomb.
You rightly said we are teaching them mathematics and we are teaching them discipline and science and this and that. And what is not happening is they are missing some very, very basic things, right? And one of the most basic problem, or rather it's an attitudinal problem with the current adolescents and the youth as well, is they don't think beyond themselves. And unfortunately, it happens in families as well. Children are very often found telling their parents, don't disturb, it's my life.
So today, and even in the morning time also you spoke about it, the kids are extremely lonely. Though they do have 5,000 friends in Facebook, maybe 20,000 LinkedIn connections and all. But then they are very lonely. They don't have real friends. They don't have any real connections or emotions with the family members. We got to also at times, we got to bring some kind of change. Maybe baby steps we have to take. And it happens at school and at home. What are those changes that we have to follow so that we ensure that these guys are emotionally stable?
So one of the things which is important is getting rid of this from your lives as soon as possible.
How
100, okay, so 100% is not possible.
No, how are you going to do that?
So that's what I'm saying.
You look supremely fit, sir. So how do you rate yourself out of 10?
7 on 10.
7?
If I lost 10 kilos more, then I rate myself higher.
Like 9, 10?
8.5.
What's the regime you follow?
I do strength training 3 to 4 times a week, cycling twice a week, and I also do pranayam 1 hour about 2 to 3 times a week, and once in a while yoga an hour, hour and a half. TT I used to play an hour of TT 3 times a week. So my shoulder is a little off these days, so I'll get back to TT, and trekking twice a year.
Twice a year. So this is something which you follow religiously.
Last year I could go only one, but I try my best too.
What about you, sir?
If you want me to rate myself, I was going to rate myself as 9, but after looking at Mr. Jain, I've changed my mind. So I'm going to do it 6.5, and doing it very mindfully because I want to follow.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, regime, difficult to say, not a very timetable person, but try to have 1 hour of walk every day in the morning
Okay.
and an hour of gym in the evening for at least 5 days a week. So that's what I do. I'm not a very diet kind of a person, but try to keep as less carbohydrates as possible. I do sometimes indulge in jalebis and burfis as well, but yes, try to cut down on carbs as far as possible, because living in Ludhiana and not having that ritual of chole and puri on a Sunday, I think that would really be unfair on me and my family. And one of the regimes that I follow is that I religiously spend half an hour to 45 minutes absolute family time with wife and with children. And when the children are not there, we connect with each other over a video call or something like that. So that, I think, adds to your own physical and mental and emotional well-being. So
So according to you, the emotional connection helps
It does, yes.
It does.
It does, yes.
So it
It
does
has a very,
for you.
For sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Oh, emotional health, if you are emotionally drained out, you'll not have the energy to do physical health. So, connection with family, friends, hanging out with friends, because your children will have their own lives eventually. So, having your own friends and connecting with them and hanging out becomes very important, and making newer friends as you go along.
And do you have awareness programs in schools where they understand? I mean, someone like Sachit Jain ji is is addressing the schools.
Yes, we do have that. Yes,
You do
yes,
have.
yes, we do have that.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
And one other thing I want to mention, there's a very old Latin saying which says "mens sane in corpore sano," which basically means that a healthy mind resides only in a healthy body. So
Wow.
that has to be a
Wow.
balance
Wow.
between
This is good. This
what
is
we
good.
do. Yeah.
So you're from IIT. You're from IIM. So I think the best of the best in the country.
I was lucky.
Yes. Fortunate. So what difference you basically see that is being followed? I mean, whether it's as a cultural difference, or is it like a difference as a package, that when you compare with other institutions, you find that IITs and IIMs, they do it differently.
I won't know the difference, but I can tell you about what I've learned from IIT.
So you must be having employees, those who are like non.
Oh, so one, I find intellectual ability would be a little less, and the ability to think outside the box and think beyond, that would be less, and networks outside would be less.
Why? Why? That's
So because once these top institutes, your friends are also in highly placed positions. So your networks, that's not the intention when you were in school or college, but you end up having amazing networks. That's something fantastic. And IIM Ahmedabad particularly, I think, has a very unique way of teaching, the case study method of teaching. So there you have a lot of class participation. You're forced to think. You're forced to defend yourself. You can't just say something. And the answer, there's no copybook, because it's open book exams. You can take all your books to class. So it's not no definition or memorizing. How do you apply this thing to a business situation? And there's no right or wrong. It's all a question of what would someone do in this situation, and your logic, why you would do it. It'll force you to think. So that
is the.
I think is amazing. So that's why you'll see IIM Ahmedabad, even amongst the management schools, these alumni from there are disproportionately high at the top leadership
Yes, rightly
positions.
said. Very rightly said.
So there I would clearly say education, and more important, the kind of students that you interact with, that also helps in our learning.
And is there any cultural difference? No. The culture that
No, the people are, no, IIM Ahmedabad, if I recall, has more diversity in the students
so they don't.
than, say, an IIM Calcutta at that time when I went. So IIM Calcutta at that time was far more engineering led, more engineering students. IIM Ahmedabad had a diversity, a better diversity of students coming in.
Okay. So you come from Doon School. So they are very famous for producing leaders. They're not producing board toppers. So what difference do you see?
Okay, so I think that's a myth that they are not producing board toppers.
Oh my
So we
gosh.
do have they do have some board toppers both in the ISA and the IB board, right? So that's one part of the story. Yes, some people who went out of Doon, they went on to leadership positions, political leadership positions to be precise, and they became highly known. But there are many, many more such students in Doon who are leaders in business, who are leaders in social work. You must have heard of Bankar Roy, who's running the Barefoot College, and many other social organizations. He's never been with the corporate, but the way he's running social work in the country, and there are many, many others. So one of the differences, if you talk about that, I see in students there and students otherwise, is that students there are being brought up in a very, very confined environment because the numbers are very less. There are about 500 odd students who are being nurtured together with, and the student teacher ratio is 1 is to 10 and so on. And of course, being one of the most influential networks of the world, that way the network factor is there when they grow out of school. So, uh, you know, A product of a school like Doon, when they come out, they carry one thing with them, and that is the confidence and the street smartness. They can interact with anyone, they are confident, and that is what makes them different. That's it. Otherwise, they have undergone the same curriculum, they've been taught the same mathematics, the same science. But what happens within the school is uh, that opportunities are created for them to express themselves. One, to manage events, to manage their own lives, to manage their physical fitness. And this is something you must have seen in today's function that we've had. Majority of that function was being managed by students, and that's how we want to do it. And that, I think, is the way forward.
And your favorite alumnus from the school?
I think I would not say that publicly. I would rather refrain.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're all there. All they We are still in touch with many students that I have taught. There are many in Ludhiana, and I can only tell you that when I came to Ludhiana, before even the teachers of the school knowing that I am coming to Ludhiana, my students in Ludhiana knew that I am coming here, and they
Wow.
started texting me.
Kind of
So
network you
that's the
have.
kind of bond that we have. I would use the word bond for it rather than network. Yeah, because network has business connotations. I would say the bonding that we have.
Okay, okay. We move on to the next question. So we teach discipline, we teach science, we teach maths, everything. But when you see the social behavior of the next generation, you feel like even one thing that is grossly missing out is the basic etiquette. So how to tackle this one? This is something which is, which is like it's a ticking bomb.
So it's not very politically correct to say that, but I would like to say that what I believe. Uh, we in India are somehow become experts at neglecting our own heritage. So I'm not a Hindu, I'm a Jain, which is a separate religion. But I came across the Bhagavad Gita. No, just Bhagavad Gita, it's not religion, it's a way of life. Now, this, in my view, should be made compulsory part of our education. Because it's part of this land's ethos, not any particular religion. But we somehow say this yoga. The whole world is doing yoga, but our prime minister, of course, try to make it. But in a school, you try to bring in yoga, and some students know this is you're putting in Hindutva or something. So let's not get into that. But these are very important things. Or I studied in a Christian missionary school. We had moral science out there. So those kind of things, we just teach you basic behavior, and then unfortunately, somewhere we are just promoting academic merit. Somewhere this thing about behavior, and people need to also understand, sometimes people understand reward and this thing, so effort and reward, that if they pick up good human relations, they'll actually be better in the corporate world, in the job market outside. So if somebody comes and tries to bring that into, this is important for you, forget that it's just been. So as you start behaving better, you get from inside a nice feeling, and it becomes, so if it comes from inside, it's the best. But if it doesn't, if it comes in from outside, that it is important, it is useful for you, and then it becomes a self-perpetuating thing because you actually get a nice feeling when you treat somebody nicely.
Sir,
So
your take?
I mean, you rightly said we are teaching them mathematics and we are teaching them discipline and science and this and that. And what is not happening is they are missing some very basic things, right? And one of the most basic problem, or rather, it's an attitudinal problem with the current adolescents and the youth as well, is that their life and their actions are centered around me, my, and mine. That's the biggest. They don't think beyond themselves, and unfortunately it happens in families as well. Children are very often found telling their parents, don't disturb, it's my life, right? They don't like that interference. So I think one of the skills that needs to be developed within families and in schools is that we need to teach our children how to respect and learn from different perspectives in life. It enriches your own paradigm, your own worldview. It enriches your own thought process, your own philosophy of living your life. And when you start doing that, you keep learning from anywhere and everywhere that you go. You learn from an environment. So that's what is needed. And this job can be done by only two people. One is the parents, and the other is the teachers. There is no third person who can do that. And of course, the recipient has to be open.
Shashi Tharoor rightly said once that, Indians are always in a hurry, but nobody is reaching on time.
Yes.
So we'll move on to the next question. So if a student is into startups or is into sports or into any other activity and is excelling in it, has low attendance or has bunked some of the classes, some of the exams even. So what's your take? How you tackle that?
So that's an interesting and a difficult question at the same time, right? But then it all depends on how that student has looked at and prepared for that startup. In all possibility, there is a very, very little chance that the person who has excelled so much in his startup would have bunked classes, because somebody who's disciplined with his startup will be disciplined with his
But then said they don't have time.
yeah,
I mean,
okay,
they
fine.
got to be out of the
So
class
will
to
be
actually do
disciplined
it.
with his classes as well. So what we need to do is we need to create a system where such students who are out of the box thinkers, who can create startups, they are given the opportunities of doing that within the school, in the school, and within the school curriculum. And the new education policy that is coming up, it has scope for that.
In other words, my question is, sticking to 75% of attendance, is it something which has to be religiously followed for everyone?
So you see,
or it has to be like for some gifted.
Shivan, I would say that's a narrow question, right? 75% of attendance is a requirement of a certain examination board, which obviously has to be fulfilled if that person wants to write that exam. But what I'm saying is, instead of sticking to that, why can't we create these opportunities within the school where startups can be created, where students can be taught how to think critically? See, what does a startup do? It basically teaches you to take risk, to think critically, and at the end of it, make some profits as well. Those are the three basic things that we are looking at. So those opportunities can be created within the school as well, right? For example, one can look at running a students' bank within the school. It's a little startup. So the child is within the school, he has a startup, he has the attendance, he achieves it, and at some point of time, that entire startup can be taken to a different level as well. So
Okay.
I think it is.
Okay.
This is how the
So
what the way
you
forward
bunk
is.
classes. So
Yes.
so what's your take? So did you by any chance you scored lesser attendance, like lesser than 75%?
I was lucky. None of my education required attendance.
Okay, so they never followed it IIT?
No, IIT, there was no attendance requirement. But so I bunked. But, they're not easy answers, because if you're part of a bigger board, as the principal said, you have to follow that board. You can't say no, that make exceptions for somebody or the other. And that's unfortunately the way it is. But I would like to believe that school, at least, that discipline should be instilled. The flexibility, whatever is there, the flexibility should come out in the college stage. Because how do you know that this is actually a genuine thing, or somebody is just using this as a means? Some kids are smart. You give them a loophole, they'll find a way out. Okay? So this is something I believe up to a period, up to school, there should be discipline which is instilled.
Stick to the system, and then after that you have some kind of
College?
okay.
Yes.
We we are living in Ludhiana, and Ludhiana students especially, they come from business families, mostly, if not all. And they don't have that desire to take the world by a storm. They feel like, okay, I have my father's business, I'll join it. So as such, they don't want to experiment. They don't want to do a startup. The second generation also doesn't want to do any startup or anything other than that. So they are pretty clear that we are going to enjoy our life. We're going to join the father's business, and then that's how we're going to pass the baton to the next generation. So this way, we are losing entrepreneurship.
I would disagree with your basic thesis.
Okay.
You are stating what is observed. We should go to the genesis.
Okay.
Now, very often, Ludhiana being a very patriarchal kind of society, they don't even allow the next generation to do different things. There's something called allow.
Okay.
So if you want to do something, you will not be allowed. So either you say, I rebel, leave my family, leave all this thing and do something else. If I want to be out here, I have to be within these. No. So I'm just saying there are both sides to it.
Okay.
And we need to be encouraged from the beginning but the point you made is a valid point. I'm just saying there's another side also to it.
Yes. So did you come across similar situations? I'm pretty sure.
We do come across such kids, and we do come across teachers who have been given answers by parents and by students on those lines. Our take on that is that education, okay, fine, there's nothing wrong in taking over dad's business and all that, because ultimately somebody has to take that, right? But I think education adds to business. If your kid is educated in a good university and then joins your business, as compared to somebody who's not had formal education and then joining the business, I think the second one would be in a better position to take your business forward, to diversify it, to take it to better heights.
Now, why we have to assume we have a living testament?
But I'll give you another example.
Okay.
When my kids wanted to drive, I said, you are not yet 18. And when both my girls turned 18, I myself took them out to teach them driving. Now, how many parents do that? And they take pride. 16-year-old, you'll find driving a scooter. They're not taught the basics of wearing helmets. So when parents themselves, and parents liberally give to their children a lot of money and give a lot of money very easily, we kept our children on a reasonably disciplined budget. Not that they didn't have. So when my girls went to UK to study, I checked with my doctor friends, what do they give to their kids? And we gave maybe a bit more than that, but much less on the monthly basis than what many business families would give. Okay. My daughter wanted she didn't have a Merc or a BMW to pick her up. She had an ordinary car. And she did not get a car, a Merc, till she was married. She was driving a Ford Endeavour. I said, you're lucky you have a car. So these are all, it depends on the parents also. What are the values instilled on the kids? Today they are young ladies they can do whatever, buy whatever, they can do whatever they want.
So they have joined the same business?
Both my daughters, the elder one works with me in our steel company, and my younger daughter works in the parent textile company.
Amazing, amazing. Recently, I took Professor Rajiv Ahuja's interview. He happens to be the director at IIT Ropar. And one thing he was very specific is that Indians don't own up. They don't own up their institution. They don't own up, as you rightly said, the culture that we have, or we had rather. So how we ensure that the next generation own up things and become responsible for it?
You'll have to start first.
Okay, so I think, this whole concept of owning up your institutions, owning up your business, again starts from what values have been passed down to children by the parents who actually are running the business, right? Uh, I I remember interacting with Arun Murugappan, who's in the Murugappa group. I taught his child, and they were running with their family with values where the child was in my boarding house. He was not given anything more than what was the required regimen in the school. His shoes were at times cheaper than what many other kids in the school were wearing. His clothes were bought from a local store in Dehradun. And so his mother once came to take the child, and I asked them, I said, he wanted something. I think he wanted a hockey stick or something, which was a very high brand. I don't remember what it was. So he was in class 8 or 9 that point. So he was crying, and they were refusing it. So I, being the housemaster, I butted in. I said, "What's the matter? Why aren't you giving it to him?" They said, "Sir, they have to earn. They have to realize." And then the father, we became very close friends after that. Then he said, "Sir, in our family, there's a tradition. If you don't deserve it, you don't get a place in the family business." As Sir said in the beginning, you can enjoy the family wealth, yes, but you will not get a place in the family business. So you have to work towards owning it, and it applies everywhere. You see, what is there in society today, particularly in wealthy families, there is a false sense of entitlement.
Absolutely.
What is road rage? My dad's car, I can drive wherever I want to. And then a Ramo. So that's a false sense to entitlement. If I'm wealthy, I don't want to stand in the passport line. If I'm wealthy, I don't want to stand in the ticket line. So that's a false sense of entitlement, and that needs to go. If that goes, this sense of ownership will start coming.
How that's going to go?
Again, the responsibility is the elders. When I say one finger there, three fingers are pointing at you. So it's basically as parents and our generation, which has to lead by example. So, for example, do we feel a sense of pride in our work, in our company? Do we feel a sense of respect to employees in our companies? So, do we treat our people well? How do we treat a driver at home? How do we treat a maid at home? How do we talk to a servant? How do we talk to a cook? Children observe. So, our actions, old saying, actions speak louder than words. So, if we have a sense of pride in what is right, and if then it's a different thing. And if we are blindly in the pursuit of money, and many people out here, many businessmen don't believe in paying taxes, right? So you are doing कच्चे का काम and black का काम and cash की बोरियां घर आ रही हैं, right? If you have that and you're buying properties, if that's where you're spending your time and effort, the property business is a separate thing. The real estate business is a separate thing. Regular business, you're buying a property और इतना cash देना है साथ में लेना है. So I don't own a single piece of land.
Oh my gosh.
I don't. No, I'm happy. My wife has a house, I'm living in my wife's house. But the point is, I don't feel the need to buy a piece of land. Why the hell should I buy a piece of land? I don't feel that sense of, and people will buy 10, 20, 30, 40 properties depending on the wealth. And they keep doing that. The point I'm just saying is if wealth becomes the important thing, then bound to have problems in the next generation. Wealth is a byproduct. You do something right, you make good money, that's by the way. But moment that becomes the pursuit, I'm sorry, then all pride in work, that pride in bringing up the next generation, that thing goes for a toss. So somewhere this we've got it backwards.
You don't, own a piece of land. And I forgot the next question. I mean, is it true?
Yeah. I will spend money on a machinery. I'll spend 100 crore rupees on a machinery. That's a productive asset.
So today, and even in the morning time also you spoke about it, the kids are extremely lonely, though they do have 5,000 friends in Facebook, maybe 20,000 LinkedIn connections and all. But then they are very lonely. They don't have real friends. They don't have any real connections or emotions with the family members. And we absolutely have taken it at face value. Okay, this is how things are going to happen in the future. We got to also at times we got to bring some kind of change. Maybe baby steps we have to take, and it happens at school and at at home. What are those changes that we have to follow so that we ensure that these guys are emotionally stable?
So one of the things which is important is getting rid of this from your lives as soon as possible.
How are you going to do
Okay,
that?
so 100% is not possible.
No, how are you
because-
going to do that?
So that's what I'm saying. So 100% getting rid of this from your lives, from their lives rather, children's lives, because the question is specifically about school children. That's not possible. So I was talking to a group of parents the other day. I suggested two ways to do that. One is have a compulsory family meal time,
This is good.
an hour of meal time where everybody in the family keeps the phones away and their laptops away and their iPads away. So you sit together, you eat your meal together, you talk about the day, you share your good things and your bad things and whatever advice and all that you need from everyone. And then one more thing for the second one is for the parents is to regulate screen time, because you can't tell the kids not to use screens at all, because a lot of education and teaching, all that is also happening on the screens. But I think it needs to be regulated. So depending on what the age of the child is, maybe 2 hours a day, maybe 1.5 hours a day, so that has to be regulated. And
At
this,
times, the parents are the culprits. We are the ones who are scrolling down the mobile phone.
Oh, yes. So kids will see their parents. So, for example, once my daughter asked me that you are driving in a Mercedes, why can't I have a Mercedes? Valid question. Now, most parents will not address that question. They'll say, how dare you ask this question and all that kind of thing. I said, okay, it's a valid question. I said, what are you? I'm a student. I said, then student ka dharma. I'm a working person. And I've earned this over time. And for me, it's something which, because I use it, because I move intercity. You travel intercity, you also get a mug. You don't go in your car. Intercity, when you travel, frankly, if you ask me, if I didn't have intercity travel, I would not have a Merc S-Class that I drive. I would rather have a Toyota Camry, much better car in the city. So, the point is, car is a functional thing. Moment you make it a luxury thing or a status symbol, then you're a problem. So, but you, if a child asks you this question, you have to be adult enough to answer.
And they will always question.
If you're drinking and you tell your daughter you can't drink, why? So you say, okay, at 18 you can drink. I'll have my first drink with you. And you'll give her the problems of drinking and taking a drink from a stranger and how to drink.
So you have to teach them.
You have. If you are drinking, how can you tell a child not to drink? So everything depends on you and your conduct. So everything starts from here. Leadership, it starts with self-awareness. Now, most people are not even aware of why they are doing. If the parents are in a rat race and parents are talking about, oh, he did this and he did that to me, my brother did this to me, and brothers are fighting with each other, and tell your kids that you should have a good relationship together if you're fighting with your brother. And there are property disputes going on, and business disputes going on, and court cases going on within family members for money. How will you get values to your children? So everything depends on what the kids see. I'm sorry. But
Amazing. Were you free and frank with your parents?
Oh, yes.
With your father?
Absolutely. So I knew that I come from a service class family, and my parents, my father he retired general manager of diesel locomotive works. He was a senior bureaucrat. But we never had money. We had a good life. We had a good life, never had money. And we were okay with it. I've worn second-hand clothes. I've worn jackets which my cousin had, or my jackets, there was a line waiting. My father had a foreign posting for 4 months and he came back, so there were some nice jackets we had. So my jacket, when it became smaller, went to my younger brother. His jacket went to another cousin and so on. And we were absolutely okay wearing second-hand clothes. It didn't matter. Now, the moment these things become important, then where is the family relationships and so on? And the other thing it is important, you have to make your home open that your kids can get kids, their friends over. Very often we don't allow daughters to get boys home.
Do you allow?
Oh, we allowed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, my mother allowed girls to come to my house. So it was absolutely normal. You have a friends among girls doesn't mean that she is a girlfriend.
Huh.
So you can, and we've grown up with boys and girls and being absolutely normal. Later, my mother told me that the girl has to talk to her on the phone regularly. I didn't know those were times those extension phones were there. My mother would listen on the phone.
My gosh.
So she checked that what is the kind of conversation going on. And she had mentally thought of her that if I somehow decide to get married to her, she was okay with that. But I'm saying that was not in my mind. I was what? In class 9. I was 14 years old. It was not even in my mind. But she was open to that you want to talk, talk. She knew. I didn't hide it. You didn't hide these things. You just behaved normally.
Rightly said, openness, is to a large extent the cure to that loneliness issue that you raised up. And another way to deal with it at a younger level in schools is to introduce students to team games. Because if they're introduced to team games, team activities and team games, which teachers and physical education teachers particularly can very easily do in school. So that loneliness, the whole concept, it gets taken care of. And when they have friends who are physically available, they can talk to them, they can share with them. The need to get likes and friends and all that on social media gets reduced. I'm not saying it goes away, and there's no need for it to go away also, but it gets reduced. So the urge is then because there is somebody who's physically present and would listen to him or her.
Yes. But then again,
So you don't need validation when you have physical
yes,
friends.
yes. And again, the parents are the ones who are cornered for time. They don't have time. They do feel like even loneliness is there in the house. So they are like busy with scrolling and all that stuff. So it's like a waterfall model. So what they do, the kids see it. So don't you think like at school we need to involve more and more parents in some kind of activities so that they go out together,
See,
a couple of or three, four
yeah,
parents.
absolutely, because education and learning is never a unilateral enterprise. It's a combination of various stakeholders' commitment, right? You have parents, you have teachers, you have students, and there are some other people also, the extended families. So parents play a very, very important role, and it's a job of the schools to ensure that parents are on the same board as the school. And when I have my orientation sessions with parents, I just tell them, I said, your job and our job is the same.
Yeah. We are the
And we
same team.
and I also tell them, I said, contrary to popular belief, we are not on different sides of the table. We are on the same side. It has to be done together. Because if parents don't understand what we are trying to do, and we don't understand what parents need from us, this journey is going to be a stormy journey for all. So there has to be a combination, and parents have to be made a part of this journey. They should be willing to be a part of this journey, and schools have to play a vital role in bringing them together and create more opportunities for parent interaction in the schools, which it is something which is you cannot do without.
Yes, very rightly said. We move on to the last question. So, do you invest in startups?
No. But I believe one should. So, but I also believe there's a method of investing in startups. So don't go by just a trend. So one is to invest in a startup fund, the venture capital fund and all, which that way you get uh, access to what startups are doing. And two, or one, some networks, if some networks are there, which enable companies to come and make a pitch or something. Go with the judgment of somebody else if you are new to this space. So, and then go along and then get a little bit involved with the person rather than just put money. Because and then be prepared that you could lose all your money in that startup because most startups go down and some will make it very big. But don't feel bad if you put money in a startup and you lose money. So startup what you put money in should be a small part of your assets. And idea for a startup should be to get a different insight into a world which is different from mine.
What's your favorite startup, by the way?
Actually, I have actually invested in a startup. So they are doing a fabulous job. In fact, company called I don't know the name of the company, but the product is Mera Bills. It's a micro ERP for micro entrepreneurs, and they're building an AI on top of that for a doodh wala or a ready wala at that level, how to keep accounts and business intelligence, so on. So that's one company I've invested in. And,
At a personal level. Okay. So which is your favorite startup?
Well, I don't think I'm the right person to ask that question. But yes, I think it has the whole realm of startups has given youngsters a lot of space to develop, and they are creating some great wonders. I do very regularly follow the Shark Tank, and I had the privilege of once meeting Ashneer Grover as well on one occasion, but not a great understanding of business. But I think that's what tomorrow looks like.
Now, why I ask this question, why I ask questions on startups, the reason being, as you rightly said, most of the startups fail. The reason, again, comes to one thing, it's the culture. So they start without having any kind of exposure. They try to find gaps that is being done in Western world, and then they try to just replicate it. And this is probably the main reason. So experiential learning is something which we should, we should.
So one thing that I believe, uh, if startups in your area, each person who's reached a particular level uh, should make their time available to share their experiences with some of these startup people. So if an ecosystem could be created where these startups, you collect a few of them together and ask any leading person to share their experiences and mentor a couple of them here and there. That can work wonders. It can be a win-win situation.
Okay. Again, the most important part here is we want to promote entrepreneurship. So once we promote entrepreneurship, then I think the end result would be successful startups.
Yep.
How we promote entrepreneurship? This would be the last question. How we promote entrepreneurship in school career?
School, then I leave the question.
No, I mean, this question is for both of you. But
okay, so one is risk-taking. If as a society, we do not like disruptors, anybody who wants to think differently is immediately caught and put down in his place, his or her place. So, so you have to encourage that. You got a different thinking. You challenge something, ask a question from your father or your mother. Why are you doing this, and why not this? And parents should encourage that and say, yes, this is the reason I'm doing. If somebody says, why do you do it this way? Okay. After school, come back and make a small experiment out there. Try it this way if it works. So that is the kind of encouragement you need to give. So for example, I'll give you an example. My daughter is already 33 and she's an ED in the company. I had called a meeting to make some announcement and 2 announcements. And before this meeting, she called me not to make the second announcement which I had planned. Okay. I didn't agree with her. But since she had taken the effort to call me not to do something that I already decided, I dropped that. Now, I am giving respect to my daughter that you have taken the initiative to tell me something that I don't think I should be doing. If it's a small thing, I should respect her views. As something very major, I like to discuss with her. Small things, give in. It's who are you losing to? You're losing to your child. But most parents make it an ego issue, will not give in. And will give in on stupid things. Child wants to go to Europe on a holiday, okay, go. I want to buy expensive stuff, okay, go. I want to. So giving in on those things will not generate entrepreneurship. Giving in on things where you are allowed to try out your ideas
That will kick.
and make mistakes, and it's okay to make a mistake.
That's where you learn.
Yeah.
So your take, sir? How we promote entrepreneurship
Yeah.
in school?
So entrepreneurship in the school.
By the way, entrepreneurship has nothing to do with a startup. It's
Yeah,
more of like,
absolutely. So
sticking to your love.
yeah. So, entrepreneurship in the schools, as I said in the beginning, one of the best ways to promote entrepreneurship in the beginning in the schools is to give the mantle of the school to the children. Let them run. This whole concept of having a prefects council in the school, having house captains and and activity in charges and all that, this is all the development of entrepreneurship in the school. That's how I think the school needs to do it. I mean, give them the responsibility. They will commit a mistake or two. That's okay. I mean, I have seen children commit mistakes even in big functions of the school, and I have never shouted at them. They made a mistake. It's okay. On one occasion, one of the child I remember was given the responsibility of giving a bouquet to a guest. He or she gave it to the wrong person because could not identify the person. That's okay. I guess it's not a big thing. Yeah, because they did not do anything greatly wrong. They just didn't give it to the. So we need to overlook mistakes as well, as rightly said by Mr. Jain. This develops within them the ability to take risks. Because why are we averse from taking risks? Because we fear the consequences. And we know that the consequence is not going to be that stark. It's not going to be, life and death situation. Let them take the risk.
That is completely fine.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask a child to sit on my chair in the office and take decisions about the teacher's increments and so on. I'm not going to do that, right? But little things where they can learn. They are 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Let them do it.
Amazing.
And those opportunities have to be created within
For
the
sure.
school.
And at home, both.
Yeah,
Both.
both.
At both. So they play, they go together in tandem.
So I'll give you an example again in our education, in our holidays. So I come, as I said, from a family with limited means, right? And my wife comes from a, let's say, more liberal, financially liberal family. I used to always say we should have a budget when we go out. I don't care what it is, it should be budget. But it was never that way. So whatever the kids, so but one time we decided that we will give the children, both the girls, a limited sum of money, that you can spend this money on whatever you want. We saw immediate change in behavior. From Marks and Spencer to a Primark. Straight.
Yes.
It was that fast. It was that fast. So just one such thing, just telling your child, okay, you have limited, you can spend as much. Another time, one daughter spent the entire amount on one thing. I think it was a mistake, but I kept quiet. And the other daughter spent that thing on several smaller things. But the point is, we've given them the choice that, okay, this is what you have. But the beauty is they did not, once budgets were given, they never asked for more after that my money is finished. So that you teach them discipline and decision making at a younger age.
Amazing. So your message to the next generation so that they are happy at the end of the day. You can say, looking at the camera.
Happiness does not come from outside. Many of us are under this pressure. I will get a job, then I'll be happy. I will get this promotion, then I'll be happy. I will make this trip, then I'll be happy. I have to have this girlfriend, then I'll be happy, and so on. And you just keep postponing life. Life is now. So happiness comes from within as you feel contented. And the more we become a giving person, the joy in spreading some happiness to others, that's the most wonderful joy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir. Your words.
My message to youngsters, particularly those who are at this point of time uh, passing out of school, entering adulthood, is that be yourself, of course, and live with your ideals. And at the same time, when you are successful in life, think of how you can give back to society, because that's something which is missing. We go into our businesses, we go into our work, and then the next 40 years we are earning wealth. But how are we giving back to society? How are you giving back to people who contributed to your reaching where you have reached? So I think a big part of life is about how you contribute towards society, and that's my message.
Thank you both of you. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure hosting you.